Good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock, so we're going to get started. I'm Nick McPhee. This is Unhindered by Coding, where I am, hello, Izitsu, working through several projects scattered across the week in a manner that's guaranteed to be confusing, at least to me, that all share, at the moment, the property that they are all using Rust, and so I'm using these as different ways of exploring different aspects of Rust through a variety of different projects. And as it's Saturday morning, at least where I live, excuse me, it's Saturday morning on a day where there's lots of things that I'm allergic to that are doing stuff outside. Hey, Wagatha, wonderful to see you again. So I sound froggy because the world is full of allergens that are attacking me. So on this Saturday morning, we're returning to the ice-repos project where we're using Rust and U to try to build a web app to batch archive GitHub repositories. And I keep thinking we're going to get, we're almost done with part X, and then 3 weeks later we're still working on part X because life is complicated. But I do kind of feel like we're almost done with managing the checkbox state, and that we'll have to then move on to actually authenticating to GitHub and sending the archive requests. Fingers crossed. Might be close. Last week we had decided to switch to using Yewdux. We had been wrestling with managing state and passing state around, and it had been kind of a pain in the butt, and there had been vast oceans of cloning, which had never made anybody happy. And then when we reached the point where we had to pass a bunch of data from one page to another page, another route in you, getting that to pass along, it was like, oh, this looks like it's going to be hard. And so we broke down and we're using Yewdux, which I say broke down, arguably maybe should have done this from the beginning, but I was kind of, I don't know, I think I thought somehow this app was going to be simple enough that we wouldn't need something like that, and I was kind of trying to avoid it. But obviously it was a bad idea. And, well, I don't know. I am not very expert in this kind of web development. I'm certainly not expert in Rust or U. Maybe there were other ways to deal with this problem, but we reached a point where it seemed like doing that was the right thing to do. So we started introducing Yewdux in the second half of last Tuesday's stream, and so today we finished that, and we see how long that takes. And a reminder, QR code should be an invite link to the Discord if you wish to join there, and we can talk about stuff offline as well. Okay, so let's actually get back to the fun and excitement. Okay, so we were adding Yewdux to stuff, and I've got a compilation error, and that's because this call to repository paginator doesn't match the properties. And so that's a thing we're going to have to deal with. Right now, we're passing in an organization. Actually, why are we even doing that? Not entirely clear why we're even doing it. So I think there's a lot of stuff that's not right here. I think we didn't get very far there. I think all we did was actually we changed the organization component to use the did we even get that far? didn't even get that far. So we set up the state here, but I don't think we ever got around to wrapping anything to make the state available anywhere. So I'm not sure where we ended up there. We'll have to figure that out. And the other thing that, so we had, so app state, I think ended up, where did app state end up being defined? Go to definition. So there, I think one of the things that happened right at the end of Tuesday is a question about whether we should have one state or two. And a little homework makes me think we should have two. So we can have a single state, which is a struct that has, in this case, a string option, which is the organization. So a string that's the name of the organization. And it's an option because initially it doesn't have a value. So it'll be none until the user enters one. And then an archive state map, which is the desired state of all the repositories that we've seen so far. So we're mapping from the ID of the repository to a pair, which is the actual repository struct, so that we have access to the full repository for display purposes and things like that. And then a Boolean indicating whether we wish to archive that Boolean or that repository or not. I'd initially just plopped all this in one big state, but I think toward the end of Tuesday, I was beginning to suspect that that wasn't the best way to have done it. And additional thinking and a little reading suggests that it's okay to have multiple states, and it probably makes sense to have multiple states if you're going to manipulate them separately. And that's actually largely true here. We manipulate this state in one part of the program, mostly in the organization entry. And from there on, it's basically your read-only value, and it doesn't get changed again. And then in the sort of second phase of the world, when we're paging through the repositories, we manipulate this part of the state a lot, but we don't ever change organization. And so I think that we could reasonably choose to have them be separate state thingies. And I don't know if there are thoughts out in the world about that. I'd be happy to hear them. We did. Where was that? Maybe that was in repository card. Did we? No, it doesn't look like repository card has changed things. Because I felt like there was... No, I didn't want that. I wanted probably you. Oops, yeah. You. I felt like there was a place where we had actually found a use of this. So here we set the organization, and that didn't alter the map at all, so that we can use this reduce mute. I think this is the thing I was thinking of. We can use this reduce mute to reach into that state and modify a piece of it without having to modify other parts of it, which makes having multiple components to the state less troublesome. That this presumably will avoid, hopefully this will avoid copying other things that don't need to be copied. But I still sort of feel like there really ought to be two states. I think that would just seem simpler and cleaner to me. So I think I'm going to try making two states, and we'll see where we end up. So since we have to drive a ton of stuff, I'm just going to copy that. Pub struct organization, pub organization option string. And actually, would we want organization dot organization or organization dot like value or name? Name might be better. And then if there was other information about the organization that we wanted to store here later, then it would make sense to have other pieces there. So that seems to make sense. And then pub struct desired state pub map HashMap use size repository comma pool. Boom. So we'd have those two things. Now if I comment this out, that ought to break some stuff and point us to places where things are broken. Organization entry, for example, is now broken. Because we bring in that and comment that out. That should break something down here. Where did that go? Right there. So this would just be use store organization. Use that. And then we would say state. Probably want to change that to organization. Organization. And we'd say, well, that didn't change very well, did it? So we'd say organization.name, and that would set the name to be the. Now, do we still need reduce mute at this point? Or is this now really just a set? Let's see. Assign the store to the given value. Yeah, I don't really need reduce mute. I may need reduce mute when I get to some of the map stuff. But I think here I just could have said, although set requires that I make a new thing. And if I reduce mute, I just have to provide the new value. But the new value doesn't depend on the old value, which seems kind of annoying. Maybe set. Maybe I like set better. I'm gonna go with set. Set. Oops, little s set. And we have organization, name, Okay. So we set the value to be a new organization whose name field is a sum containing the field contents. And I guess if building a whole new organization was expensive, then reduce mute would probably make more sense. But in this case, it's just a wrapper around an option type, which is a wrapper around a string. So I don't suspect there's any real issue here. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. Let's let that go. So that takes care of organization entry. And we'll get rid of that comment. And now main. So somewhere we need to like wrap. Oh no, we don't need to wrap. I was thinking we needed to wrap some of the components in something saying they had access to the state, but that was context. We were using use context tool for a second. That required the wrapper, but Yewdux does not, because the state is global to everybody. So you don't have to provide any wrappers anywhere. You just go. So that actually is not a problem. So just want to make sure organization entry no longer has props. And so actually we can get rid of this as well. And we can get rid of this. None of that matters. And now does any of this... okay, this stuff still I want to probably deal with at some point. Okay, so I think organization entry is good. Now main is grumpy because main brings in app state, which it doesn't use. Well, it doesn't exist anymore. And it calls paginator. So paginator no longer should take any props, and the problem is that paginator, repository paginator, hasn't been changed to not take any props. And I don't know, do we need, so app state, do we use that? Do we use this somewhere? Oh, right here. Yeah, so we do need, this needs to be organization, and this needs to be organization.name, and oh, and that should be, oh, and this isn't a, oh yeah, it is a pair, organization, and then we'll have this app state needs to go away. And I don't think we'll have any use for the map yet out here, if ever. So, in fact, I bet we don't even need this, because this, is this ever used anywhere? Oh yeah, it is. It's used right there. So that's legit. It's used in the display of what name the organization has. Now, whether that should be out here or in paginator is unclear. I mean, there is probably an argument that this div with basically this h2 should move into paginator, and then this main would never have any need for talking to the state, which seems like that would be good. Do I actually want to do that right now? I was just going to make a note of it for now. But I think the one nice thing perhaps about the having this state, and context probably could have done the same thing for us. It might help us clarify where we need access to what. Now in Yewdux, we'll have access to everything everywhere, so it doesn't force us to deal with the problem, whereas context would encourage us to sort of be more careful. But into actually maybe move this if into the paginator so that main, or let's say homepage, doesn't need to ever access any part of the global state. Okay. So now we got to get repository paginator to no longer take in props, because that's why everything's breaking. Is right now repository paginator takes in properties, and we don't want it to, and we shouldn't need a props object, which would be good to simplify some things. Where is props even defined? There we go. So I'm going to comment that out. And I suspect we aren't going to need any of this. No, we will need, well, that's interesting. So we have a wrapper around this HashMap that is essentially what we have here. So I wonder if I want an archive state map here instead of the raw hash map. And in which case the archive state map probably ought to be in repository. Kind of think maybe I should, because I think that some of this is useful. So let's move all of you guys up. Undo. Cut, not just hit the space bar. And let's put you in here. And actually it looks like this big comment here probably was connected to all of that, so I probably ought to grab that and move that over here as well. A lot of this is about cloning and stuff, and it looks like the Yewdux may be resolving a lot of those comments, so I'll have to tidy that up. So desired state is going to be now the archive state map why are we grumpy? Oh, because I put a semicolon and not a comma. I don't even need anything. Okay. Now, why are we not compiling? We're not compiling because... Oh, we're still not happy here. Oh, default is not implemented, but we need it. Oh, that's interesting. So, is default something we can just derive? Or is default something we need to actually implement? Looks like we can derive it. And I'm guessing it would give us an empty map would be the default behavior, which is what we do with new anyway. Or I wonder if default just calls new if new exists. I don't know. But I suspect that either way we'll be in a happy place, so I'm not too worried about it. Famous last words in programming. Oh, it'll be fine. Everything's cool. Okay. Now this probably led to a whole bunch of unnecessary imports. Sure. And apparently I'm not using this deref anymore. Oh, maybe I am. No, doesn't look like it. Okay. So the paginator, let's go find our paginator. So much code in this file. Definitely, this file is, even after some refactoring that we did, this file is still too long and probably needs to be restructured. But okay, there won't be any props anymore. Boom. Bob. Now, what do we really need? We are going to need the organization. We use it here. But we only use it here. And that's to pass it in here. Can update state for organization. Just get it from the big state thing instead of having it passed in. Maybe that would be reasonable since we clone it here anyway. And cloning, so annoying, so much cloning. So maybe we don't even bother passing that in. And so maybe we don't need it in the main state. Yeah. I mean, we would need it for this debug, but I'm willing to like comment that out for now. Oops. Oh, not that. No, come on, not that. Thank you. And then we'll just not pass organization. We'll not ever get organization. And that means we won't. Oh, but we need it for the dependencies. Oh, poop. We do need it for the dependencies. That's actually going to be a necessity. Huh. Yeah. Because if the organization changes, we have to contact GitHub to get information for the new repository. Well, that's thoroughly annoying. So we get to get the, if we get the organization up here, that organization don't need to change it. What did that look like? It was like use store angle bracket organization. Use store. Doing that right? Colon. I must say, I still never get that syntax. And we're unhappy because we probably have to import some stuff. Use store. And import some stuff. Okay. RC. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so we depend on the R. Now, we probably want to depend on the name. Oh, but that assumes there is something. Well, that's interesting. So if we got to the paginator and there wasn't a... If we get to the paginator and there is no organization name, we haven't entered something yet. So this shouldn't even be called, because we only call paginator if there is an organization name. So I think we could assert bang organization dot I want stuff for option, not is none, right? And then that didn't work. So it's because it's behind the RC that it, so I have to grab the value. No. Oh, it's organization.name. Probably then if I'd had the name in, I probably didn't need the bang. I bet it would have figured that out. Yeah. So we're assuming the organization has a name at this point, and so we can let organization be dot name dot unwrap. So we'll assume that the organization has a name, and we'll just grab the name, and then we can depend on that name down here. However, that doesn't seem like a good idea, because we will have taken the name out of the state object, and now the state object could change, but that name that used to be in the state object won't change. So I bet that doesn't work. I bet that this got us too deep in, and we're now depending on something that we won't know actually changed. So I wonder if this is the thing we actually want to depend on? Or if star organization is the thing we actually want to depend on? I kind of suspect maybe it is. But I don't know whether it should be star or not. Does this need to be star organization for the dependency to work correctly? Yeah, in the weeds a little bit, but I think unavoidably in the weeds. And now we could bring this back, because we ought to be able to say organization dot name. What? Oh, that's now because we're not in the thing. We'll need to say organization dot name. Why are you being funky? Oh, option doesn't implement display. Oh, that's interesting. Well, we'll do that because it does implement debug. Okay, so that should still work now. This we're not even going to pass in anymore. And actually, we probably don't pass in the archive map anymore, because that's going to be something we get from the state. And so passing in the current page and the repository paginator state, do we need that? Bet we do, because the repository paginator state, where are you defined? You are way up here, is the vector of repositories that we've seen in the current page and the last page, and that is specific to the repository paginator, so it makes sense for it to have that state as separate from the global state. That seems reasonable as local state. Okay. So this, I don't think we'll want anymore. It doesn't look like we actually use archive state anywhere. So I think if we comment that out, and then we comment that out, and then we just have to change updates. Oh, no, hang on. Does this actually get used? So that, again, should probably use the global state. I'm actually going to leave that as a mess for the moment. We'll come back to that. Let's go look at update state for organization. So now we're not going to pass in the organization. We're not going to pass in the archive state map, because those are things we can get from the global state if we in fact actually need them. So that at least should make this call. Where was that? Right here. That call now does compile. So what do we need here? So we claim to need the organization. We do, because so we really do truly need the organization here. So we're going to need to grab that out of the state. So we are going to want to let organization be use store organization, and it's not going to be that, it's going to be a pair that, and dispatch, which we don't need here, and we are going to want to assert bang not organization.name.is none. Okay. And then we can let organization be organization.name.unwrap. And we will allow what's the grumpiness going to be? It's like use unwrap or something. Well, we'll come back to that later, because it will yell at me. I think there's just so many compiler errors at the moment that it's not even noticing. This unwrap should be safe, because repository paginator is only called if the organization is a sum variant. Let's see, the is only used or rendered in home page if the organization is a sum variant. Okay. So now we should have a name that makes the organization stuff seems happy. And now we need the archive state map. Oh, and actually, do we need, interesting question, can we now get rid of, if we get rid of that clone, what happens? It doesn't complain anymore. That's interesting. So that got rid of a clone. Where else is this being used? It's being read several places, but it's not, doesn't seem to need to be cloned anymore. So that's a happy thing. Got rid of a clone. Woo! Now archive state map should be in the global state, and we're going to want to change how we deal with this. Now this is happening in a spawn local, so I wonder if we actually want to get the state here in the local, And that would avoid potentially a whole bunch of cloning weirdness, because we won't have to move it into this local. It will be acquired by the local. So let's try that. We're just setting it. We're not reading it. So I don't think we need that part. So state map, what do they call it? Dispatch. Use store archive state map. Boom. Okay. And now this is where it gets tricky. So we want to, I think, use mute here. Reduce mute. And that's going to give us reduce mute archive state map. And then that's going to go, close curly. And then this is going to be where we're going to use the actually I want the dispatch here. So state map dispatch. So what if archive state dispatch would be? Probably archive state dispatch is a better name. Terrible at names. It's one of the, probably my single biggest weakness in programming is I'm not good at names. Why are we grumpily? So let's look at reduce mute again. Reduce mute. Takes the state thing and then does whatever we want to do to it. Reduce mute. Takes the state thing. Oh, I bet. Is that actually the problem? Well, I mean, this whole line is probably broken. What's my problem? Oh, do I ever set up a store for... Oh, no. Oh, but that's not where one does that. And actually we can get rid of this. I don't think you have to set it up. I think the first time you hit it, it does things. So, oops, wrong thing. So, I would have thought that hitting this is the problem, just that our archive state map doesn't implement all the things that need to be implemented. So organization, oh yes, store. So I think we don't have store on archive state map. Yeah, we're missing store. So that's going to be necessary to make. Okay, so that line now works. And now we don't need any of this cloning business. We should just be able to say with repos. Except. Oh, that's private. Really? Look at that. It's private. Okay. So we call with repos, and in theory that will update the state. Let's hope. And we've avoided cloning anything here, which is kind of awesome. Okay. Oops. Claims. There's an issue here somewhere. No, I don't think so. But we have an issue here. So on checkbox change, we are... and this is where we had the problem where things weren't printing the way that we had thought they were going to, because state wasn't being updated in the way that we thought it was. I have no idea what impact Yewdux is going to have on this. Yeah. So, where is this used? We call update desired state, and then we set. Well, we won't need to do the set. We'll actually be able to do a reduce mute, and then just call update desired state. So we do need to do that. It could be in the callback. It doesn't have to be outside of the callback. So, I think we could lose both of these guys. And then here, we're going to want to let archive map dispatch use store archive state map. So that's going to get that. And then if we want to do all this printing, we have to figure some things out. But so we could just say map, in case we want to actually go ahead and bother printing stuff. So here, this is going to need to be a reduce mute, and we don't. So archive state dispatch dot reduce mute archive state map. And then we just call update desired state. That actually looks happy, except for it doesn't. Archive state, archive map. Actually, I think I wanted archive state dispatch. I think I got this wrong. Okay, so that should do the setting and the everything all together. Now, why is that not happening? It is private. Go to definition. Update desired state. It's in here, right? Oh, it's not. It's probably in the impl. It is. That's pub. Okay. That takes care of that. And then all this console logging fails because we don't have the map. So I think we ought to be able to say websys console log 1 and format bang map, let's see, archive state map before update is actually, I think I can just say map into, and then do the same thing after update. Now that whether that'll work or not, I don't know, because I don't know if this calling the reduce mute will immediately update. So actually, I just saw it. So you made a comment, and actually, I don't know when. I've been talking to myself so much. Can the update desired state mutate? Oh, so that's an interesting question. Mutate itself instead of cloning. Oh, you're right. It clones. Oh, yeah. No, it totally should be able to do that, right? So it would return a reference to self, or return nothing. Doesn't really need to return anything. Yeah, and mute self. So it needs to do that. And we can hopefully get rid of the clone. And this would be self. And this would be self. And then this is just reference self. Not reference self? Oh, it's little s. That was a type. Yeah, oops, no, didn't like that. No method entry. Oh, because it's in mutable, it's in the archive state map. So that needs to be self.map.entry. Zippity doodah. Good call, Sitsu. Another clone! Eliminated. And actually that one is pretty significant because that we were cloning the entire map there, and that was potentially, I mean, realistically the map had at most probably 100 items in it, and on modern hardware cloning that's not really any big deal, but conceptually that was annoying. And yeah, so not having, and depending on how the map got cloned, if there was sort of a recursive kind of, we make a new map and then we clone all the things and copy them over, I don't actually know how that would have worked, how that's implemented internally. But if it was something ugly like that, avoiding that, definite thumbs up. So good catch, like that a lot. We'll have to actually search for clone everywhere. When we get the Yewdux thing working, look for places where there might still be clones and make them go away. So let's see. It doesn't like. So I think this would just be map dot get. That's ugly. My choice of name here was perhaps not awesome. in that regard. Maybe I should implement a get in my archive state map thing so that I don't have stuff like this. But this is all in console logging, so it's not the most important thing. Okay, now we have one compiler error still. Oh, right here. So this wants to pass archive state map, which is global now. So it really shouldn't pass that to repository list. And actually, we don't have a clone anymore. Oh, we do. We're cloning the list of repositories. That's another problem. Not dealing with that today, right now. So that we get rid of. And oh, that's just because props on repository list is still expecting 3 things. So if we change this to get rid of that, I think that will make this compile. So I think repository paginator all compiles now. And now the compilation errors have moved to repository list. We continue to make our way through the world. So we don't have this anymore. And now we have to get the desired state here. So we do need to get, and this is a reading activity, so we ought to be able to let archive state underscore equal use store archive state map. Boom. Now I think we have to do an use here. Yep. And so this is it's just an so actually, can I just call this state map? Oops. Will that fix the problem? Look at that. That seems to have solved that problem. Now we have paginator issues. Well, okay, paginator, what you were fine a second ago. What are we grumpy about now? So calling archive state map with repos, what is the issue? Cannot move out of star archive state map, which is behind a mutable reference. So with repos, are we doing so it's a mutable self, not a mutable reference to self. I think that wants to be a mutable reference to self and return a reference to self. Oh, and this, it doesn't like this. Is this just supposed to be that? Yeah. Okay. And now 137 cannot move out of an RC. So do I actually want the name, or can I just take a reference out of it? Let's see. So that's probably a reference back to this. Oh, I see. Because if we want to chain them, yeah, okay. I'll buy that. And that would apply down here as well. I don't know that we actually have any chaining at the moment, but we could. Yeah. So here, actually, while we were over here, organization, we have an option string. And this is grumpy because... So maybe we do want this to be an as-ref, like it says. Not happy about that. Type annotation. Oh, so I actually have to say what I want this to be. So fine. I think I want that. And it didn't like that. Nope. Didn't like that. What if I just said I want an ampersand string here? Consider borrowing. Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, the asref needed to be first before the unwrap. Asref. I wondered about where that would go in this chain. And still not happy. Oh, really? So this gets passed into this future. You know, we only use organization outside the future for this console log. I think that's probably dumb, and we ought to do this inside the console log, and then we don't have to worry about all this lifetime cloning ownership waffle. So I think maybe the right thing to do is to, if we cut all this and put that there and get rid of this. So we get that, and I wonder if now we can just skip the whole faffling about business. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, so we do still need the asref, because that seemed to have, that seems to have compiled okay. And now the rest of this seems good. Okay. So we take the organization, we get the name from it, that's an option. We asref it, and now it's an option wrapping a string reference, not an option wrapping a string. Then we unwrap the option holding a string reference, And then that gives us a string reference here. And everybody seems to be happy with having a string reference. So that part seems good. Now main is grumpy about the same kind of problem, and it's going to want an as-ref, I think, here. And in fact, oh yeah, right, we check down here if it's a sum or a none, and we use the value here. Heavens to Betsy, I think everything compiles. That's kind of terrifying. We've got some warnings. Not many, actually. But it looks like it compiles. Now, yeah, right. Does it work? Come on, Isitsu. What irrational questions are these? Do I care about it working? Well, that's a bad sign. Yeah, that's a very bad sign. Something bad happened. Okay, let's clear that. Let's submit. Unreachable code should not be executed. Well, that's never a good thing. Really? Yewdux. So I'm calling uStore. So this is on ice-repos, organization entry, calls uStore, and something bad happens. So this call to uStore, because I think that's the only call to uStore, did something bad. What in the world? Oh, sigh. Unreachable code should not be executed. Totally didn't help anything. What if we... Nope, that didn't do anything. So it looks like it's trying to run the closure, or run a closure. So maybe it's trying to run this closure. And the compiler somehow decided maybe it didn't need this code, that this code was unreachable. Actually, there's some warnings. I wonder if I should care about these warnings. If any of them are trying to tell me something. So for example, okay, repository paginator. There is line 18. Oh, that derive is still there, and that is being treated. Yeah, that could be doing something weird. I don't know if that's, I don't suspect that's actually the problem, but it certainly was a bad thing. And actually I should just delete this props. We don't care about it anymore. And then line 205. We're passing this organization in here. Oh, but we never use it anymore. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I wonder if we need... Yeah, I feel like this callback had to take the same set of things that the deps did, and if we're passing something that isn't right anymore, then that could be bad. And maybe this does need to take this organization, because that'll be passed in as the thing. Could be. Because I feel like at some point we didn't have something being passed in here and it broke stuff. Programming is hard. So if we do pass this here, it probably ought to get used here. So maybe we really want to pass this back in and go to the definition, and it takes an organization, and that's now an &RC organization. And then, actually we don't need this then. Oh, we probably need to import something because we don't have that explicitly imported. Whoa, that broke all manner of things. Oh, it's a lifetime problem. Do I want a reference to the RC or do I want the RC? So, whew. Now, then that breaks the call, but that we could just take care of by popping a star in front of it, right? No, now we have a move. Oh, but it's an RC, so we can totally clone it. And I probably don't have my things in the right. Is that what needs to happen? No. Is it this? No, hang on. I want to clone the reference. So let's think for a sec. Yeah. Nope. Oh, now it's happy. What? I swear I had that. Oh, no, I didn't. I think I had a star, but I didn't have a clone. But now if I clone it, then that can take ownership and life is all good. Okay, fine. So that makes sense. Now, there's one other thing here that would be an easy fix. I kind of doubt we've actually dealt with the original problem. So it turns out there is an is sum, and I should have used that here instead of not is none. Boom. And Clippy's like, you should fix that. Everything else is just warnings that clearly aren't going to tell us anything very exciting, like that this is never being called. Now, please work. Of course not. Why would I think you would work? Hook. Oh, hey, this is more useful. Hooks can only be used in the scope of a function component. That could be possibly a helpful thing. Ice-repos, entry organization, running the closure, and I'm not in a functional component. Organization entry. Oh. So this use store call is happening in this callback, which is presumably happening outside of the function component universe. Oh, poop. Because I moved a whole bunch of stuff into callbacks that I think this error is telling me I can't have done. That I cannot be pushing the hook stuff into the callbacks and the futures because there's presumably some kind of U or Yewdux or combination of the two context that's available in a when you're in a function component that isn't going to be there when you're in somewhere else. So that's a possibility, but now I think we're going to end up with some cloning, was my guess. But let's find out, right? I mean, this is what we do. So if I take this line, cut, and grab that up there, now everything still compiles. Yeah, so maybe I don't need to worry about cloning. Well, in this case, dispatch is only used here. I think it might get more complicated in some of the other ones where things are used in multiple places, but here dispatch is only used here, and so that may work. make sure we build. Do 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 do. Okay, and okay. Hooks again. So I think they're going to have happen in multiple places. ice-repos, repository paginator, update state for organization. Okay, update state for organization, right there. So, oh right, spawn local. So this call to use, both of these calls to use store. Oh, this one's commented out. Oh, because we now passed that in. And so this call to use store, we have to move up here, and we hope that that doesn't blow up the world. And it doesn't, because everything's in RC now. And so we can pass stuff around. Oh, that might have worked. That would be kind of cool. Let us see if we moved the lump a little farther along the rug. Okay. Now, CSI 3601 S20, go. Okay. Hooks can only be used. There's at least one more place where this is happening. ice-repos, update state for organization. I thought we were just there. We were. Is update state for organization getting called in a callback? So we would have to actually have this map passed in as an argument. So we're going to have to actually use store here. And we care only about the... Well, actually, I guess I can just grab this. So we care about that. And then we're going to pass the archive state dispatch to update state archive state dispatch. And now update state is going to take, oh yeah, so what an archive state dispatch is a dispatch archive state map. Archive state dispatch is a dispatch, which we're not going to have that as a type probably. Dispatch, import that, and archive state map. Okay. Now it compiles again. Interesting. And so use store, we just search for use store. Happens there, that's in the component, so that's safe. Aha, this one's going to be a problem. So this is happening in on checkbox change in a callback. So if we say this is map and we get rid of this, does that work? No, because yeah, we're moving archive state dispatch. So this is where I thought we'd get into trouble. Dynamic types equals trash. I'm not convinced of that. And I don't think that's actually... I don't think dynamic types are what's happening now. But feel free to say more. So I'm guessing we're going to have a clone of, which shouldn't be a problem. Because these things, actually if I just do this, oops, no, not that. Come on. If I take all of you and scoot you in. Oh, no, that's what I wanted. There we go. If I clone, probably just archive state map. I'm guessing that may be the only one that needs to be dealt. Well, I lied. Can't find archive state map. What? Oh, sorry. I think I wanted dispatch. Sorry. Cheat. Copy paste. And okay. Oh, but by putting it in these things, this no longer is in scope. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe I can, because if I don't use archive state dispatch anywhere else, maybe just cloning it once right there is sufficient. No, doesn't like it. Borrow of moved value. And that's because somebody up here took it. So I probably have to clone here. Archive state dispatch. Come on. Archive state dispatch. Clone. Maybe that was actually the problem all along. That this was taking it. Aha. Now this compiles. Now did I need this? Or was that actually a red herring? The problem was the need to clone up above. I think maybe I didn't need that. Okay. And then this leftover can get begunned. And this should just go away. And let's look for other occurrences of use store. So we import it and we use it those two places, and that's it. So fingers crossed, we will have moved the lump at least to another place in the rug. That'd be fun. I like moving the lump. UMM Seaside 3601 S20. Oh, it did things. Okay. So we successfully pass the organization state in enough to display here and make the right HTTP request. We are printing states. So something's happening somewhere on that front. Boom. So archive state map before update. Intro, everyone was true. After, it's still true, but this could just be the same problem we were having before. If it looks like it works, so now this is false like it should be. So I think this is just a weird like sync problem with the printing, and I'm not worried about it. And these things seem to be displaying correctly. So I am pretty comfortable that this is doing a useful thing. Can we do pages still? We can. Awesome. I think we got this Yewdux thing to work. That is so exciting! Thank you for all the help. That is super nifty. Like that a lot. Okay, so I've got a bunch of warnings I want to clean up, but I'm going to commit first because we have made a lot of changes and I want to capture all of that and maybe do some cleanup along the way. Well, actually, I think I'm going to commit first. No, because if I commit now, I'll lose this and I won't know these changes. I do want to clean this up. Okay, fine. So this is organization entry, has props on line 16 that doesn't need to be there anymore. Blah. Oh, I just removed it. Yeah, ignore me. And that went away, and this is there now, and this is this arguably considerably cleaner version of the world. So that's nifty. This is a bunch of imports, and so this one required very little change. That's nice. Oh, one thing we should confirm. We know that the repository state paginator updates when you change the current page, but does it update when you change the organization? Oh. Did it? Yeah, okay, it did. We're good. Okay. The number of things changed up here and the repos that are being addressed changed. So I think actually it's working. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay. And so properties in repository list no longer take the state map, but do have the list of the repositories and the callback. The paginator, we removed a whole bunch of stuff because we moved that over to repository. And then we sort of simplified some of this. How much we simplified that is maybe debatable. And there's going to be a warning here we'll have to get rid of, but let's do that later. Okay, here's a bunch of commented out code that's still in there. So this is paginator line 193. Paginator 193. So this stuff, I think, just can all go away. Boom. And now we use this to provide scope for these clones, which seems reasonable. And, you know, that would make more sense down there. Yes. And it doesn't look like that does need the star. So just passing the organization seems to be okay. And then back to GitHub. That was there. That's fine. We removed a bunch of that. Yeah. Removed a bunch of that. And then this. Okay. So that seems reasonable. Here we have organization because we need that part. Oh, here we go. We should get rid of 63 on main. Oops, wrong. Main 63. Yeah, this whole business just doesn't need to be there anymore. That I will keep. And the repository got a lot bigger. Oops, we've got a commented out thing. Should get rid of that. Repository. Should get rid of this. Don't need that anymore. And I do think splitting the state up into the two pieces feels like the right thing. Having gone through it, I do feel like having the separate state components was probably the right thing to do there. So I'm glad that I did that. Now, a lot of this to do probably doesn't need to be here anymore because I think a lot of this got dealt with. So basically that is no longer relevant, and we aren't cloning all the time. We're doing that. That's what this whole thing is. Add with repos does check that already. So we only add things that are not already archived. And I think we're good on this mutability business. Now I think probably wouldn't hurt to have some type defs that give like repo ID here and is archived or something here, so that these would have names that would be more informative instead of having a comment here. But I'm not going to wrestle that demon today. And so I think the rest of this looks good. So we're going to stage all this in one ginormous commit. Okay. Implement Yewdux state management. This creates two new Yewdux states. Organization and archive state map, which are read and set by the appropriate components. I'll make a note that we can't call hooks unless we're directly in a functional component, which means we can't use things like use store in callbacks or spawn threads, since we're in JavaScript, not really threads, but so we had to make sure to get the state structs state tools in the components and pass clones of them into things like callbacks. I'm hoping this significantly reduces the amount of cloning in the app, perhaps marginally improving performance. Okay. Is there anything else I need to say here? Not really, other than Yewdux was pretty nice to work with. Hello, Samaria1. Welcome to the stream. We only have about 10 minutes left, but it's wonderful to see that you're here. And I must say, I'm generally pleased with Yewdux. I think Yewdux has been a reasonably nice library, and I think that it, as much as having kind of global state annoys me, if we are thoughtful about how we use it, I don't think it's that bad, and it seemed to actually clean up a number of things. So, and now I want to clean up a couple of warnings. So Clippy's fussing at me. So new is never used because we put in default, and I think default is doing the right thing, and we don't ever construct directly an instance of archive state map. Yewdux does that for us using the default, so we don't need this anymore. So I will go ahead and remove it. And then in repository paginator, we've got some unwraps that it's fussy about. Now we knew about this one, and we just want to say allow be unwrap used, because we know that this unwrap is safe because repository paginator is only rendered in homepage if the organization is a subvariant. Now that's kind of, so I stream actually. The current schedule is Tuesday morning, Wednesday evening, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and that's all Central Daylight Time. So so right now it's about a little before noon for me. So this is the end of the 10 to noon stream on Saturday, where we work on this web app using Rust and Y-E-W, Saturday afternoon, so today in like 2 hours, from 2 to 4 my time, I have a stream where I'm working on systems labs. We've got a systems course here where I teach at the University of Minnesota Morris, and we got a bunch of labs that are written for the students to work on in either C or Java primarily, and I'm interested in converting some of those labs to Rust to see what that looks like, and possibly actually changing the labs for the students downstream. Currently working on an Echo client server in Rust, so I'll be returning to that in 2 hours. Then Tuesday morning from 10 to noon, doing this again, the ice-repos web app with Rust and U. And then Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. to torture Asitsu primarily, doing evolutionary computation in Rust. So that's my research area, and I'm interested in comparing performance of closure implementations, which is what I and a group of people that I work with have been using primarily for over a decade now, comparing the performance of that to Rust. So far looking like Rust is like 100 times faster, maybe. So if that keeps up, that's actually really interesting and has a lot of implications. I don't know if any of my students watch the stream. I know some said they were interested in it when I first floated the idea. But, you know, for all I know, Samaria 1, you were one of my students. I mean, I'm assuming not because you asked the question, but handles don't map to people gracefully, and no student has told me they're watching. One alum joined a couple of times this summer, but I haven't seen him in over a month. So yeah, I don't know. I don't honestly have any idea. So it'd be cool if some of them did, but I don't know. I'm not doing it for myself, not really for anything else. So I'm glad to have anybody here, yourself included. So thank you for joining. So I was going to say, there is potentially a certain amount of self-delusion here, because there's really nothing that would prevent me from using the repository paginator component in some other setting and not checking that the organization is a sum variant. But, you know, we've got the assert here, so we're kind of saying, hey, it really needs to happen. So it certainly means that this should be safe, because the assert would have failed before we got there. So I'm okay with that. Then on line 138, we unwrap here. Oh, that's right. So we're still just unwrapping around some of the potential HTTP problems. So we've just got an unwrap here, and we have an unwrap here, and that really needs to be done something to. I'm not entirely sure what I would do to that yet, but something like that probably ought to be dealt with. And then 216, there's an unwrap here, and that is, we just set the value of ID right here. So really that ought to have a value. But these are those console logs that don't actually work because of the way the state gets updated. So maybe I should just get rid of them because they aren't correct, and so they're just confusing. So I think actually I will just get rid of both of these, and then the code got shorter, and I don't have to worry about that warning. And then 185 is grumpy. Oh, we're not using this. Oh yeah, I guess we aren't using that. I was thinking that we were going to somewhere. Oh, I think it was being used in some of those log messages, but now that we don't use it anywhere in the log messages, we only need the dispatch. Because all we're doing is updating the state here. We never actually look at it anymore. We were only looking at it in the log messages. Okie dokie. So that makes those warnings go away. I'm going to commit that, and I think we're going to call to this morning done. So we added that warning. We turned that into an underscore. We got rid of those guys, and we got rid of that. Okay, so clean up some Clippy warnings. The archive state map new is never called anymore because Yewdux uses the default trait to generate the initial value, so we can remove that. Also removed a number of unhelpful log messages, which made a variable unused, so I converted it to underscore. And I should say log messages in repository paginator. Boom. So I think that actually deals with the whole checkbox business. Oh no, I guess Seaside, I can't spell. Dash S20. We still need to build the submit page. But actually, I think I am going to say that this we're in this add repo checkboxes branch. I think I'm actually going to merge that branch in, kind of declare this done, and then next week, next Tuesday, we'll try to build the submit route that has all the repositories and their state, and then we will go from there to actually trying to talk back to GitHub and saying, GitHub, here's the things we want to archive, please do that. And then the thing might work. That'd be kind of weird. So coolio, that is awesome. I think we'll wrap that up now. It's almost exactly 12 o'clock. Yeah, making good progress. Today was a good day. I felt like with the one exception where we had the problem with you couldn't call hooks outside of function components. At that moment I was like a little panicked. I didn't really have any idea what was going on there until I saw the right error message, and it was like, okay, I get it. But there was a moment of like, oh, that's not good. I don't understand what's happening, and I'm just getting this big dump, and it's making me sad. But the rest of today, I actually kind of felt like I knew what I was doing. It's sort of borderline competent. There's still aspects of Rust syntax that I tend to get things turned around. Too many languages in my brain. But I think that's happening less, which means, of course, when I get back to actually having to do other things in classes next year, I'll be completely lost because I'll do everything as if it's Rust, and everybody will be like, what are you doing? So, but I did feel like I was not too terribly incompetent today, and that was a happy thing. So thank you all, as always, for your time and your feedback and your ideas. I hugely appreciate it. And I will be back at 2 o'clock, so in 2 hours for me, working on Rust for a client server, Echo client server system. The server is mostly done. I think there was one little thing to deal with there. So it's time to write the client, although at the moment my repo is structured wrong for that. I really probably wanted two binary crates, and I have actually two kind of sub-repositories, well, just subdirectories in a repository that aren't connected, and I think that they probably could/should be set up as a pair of binary crates in the same project. And then maybe we can actually create a library crate and have some shared code once the client's also written. So it might be making some changes to the structure as well as working on the client today. So that'll be happening at 2. And then 10 a.m. on Tuesday, Central Time, I'll return to ice-repos and do that some more. And then Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, return to the Evolution Computation project. So thank you all very much. I'm going to wrap this up, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye!